Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, May 26th. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Today is a day to go ahead and remember those that have served and those that have passed. Oh boy, and one of those days, especially those in the military, my friends. On that note, let's go ahead and jump into the studio. Welcome our audience, man. We've got an interesting conversation here talking about misinformation, disinformation, and the executive branch unwillingness to bring stuff forward and all the things in their toolbox they've been using against us. So on that note, let me go ahead and turn down the intro, and let's go ahead. As that's playing in the background, let me go ahead and find out and bring up a list of our audience, and let's see who the heck we have out there to welcome you all in today, folks. Who are the participants? Who do we have out there? We have Ann Joanne's here along with Anton Ghost. We've got April R. Coleman, Kathy Spire, Charmanian, also known as Teresa, is here. Digger Dog, Eliza Teal, Firefly, and Gray Jedi is popping in. We've got Gundam Disclosure, Hides in Long Grass, JB, Jan, Jason's here along with JD from Philly, Kathy, Lon. We've got Mark Timer Prepared, Marty S., Megan Betts, Michael Huang, Ms. Cussout, along with Nancy K. We've got Kelly Broughton, his piercing blue eyes. Niles guy is here, our resident pitbull. Watch out, trolls. He's got his eye on you. Who else do we have out there? We've got Sam, Shelley Montgomery, Shinobi, One Kenobi, Stephen Forbes, Steve Hines, Truckin' Paw, Two Midgets on a Horse, Vern Dude, and of course, Woodrow Smith. How about that? Welcome to Disclosure Tonight, folks. We've got a fun time. Let me jump into the studio now. Where am I at? Oh, yes, here I am. All right, we made it. All right, let me just go ahead and do this. Let's just get started. Mike, Disclosure. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. This is going to be an interesting conversation, I think, tonight on Memorial Day. We're going to have a lot to talk about as far as what's going on with the government and Congress and how they don't always look at things accurately.
Yeah.
That's nothing new.
You know, one of the things, Mike, I think that caught my eye on this was a video clip we played, I think it was on Friday night, of Representative Eric Burleson saying some things that just didn't make sense. And I'm figuring out it's got to be coming from Greer. It's got to be coming from somewhere. Potentially, it's coming from the deep state. You know, unlike misinformation, which is caused by human error, disinformation is a deliberate and strategic distortion of facts that have been systematically deployed to manipulate public perception, conceal sensitive information, and often preserve the power of those with institutional control.
That's how they go about doing that, usually with a disinformation campaign, is they put out a somewhat believable story, and they want to see who jumps on the bandwagon. Because if they do, either a politician or a news outlet, whatever it may be, when the time comes, they then prove that it was a false story, and they completely discredit whoever was covering that as accurate.
Correct. And I think, remember, we're dealing with Eric Burleson here, who is one of the people with the loudest mouths these days, actually eclipsing Representative Tim Burchett with regards to calling the cover up, saying there's something more to this. He's hired David Grush, as part of his staff to go ahead and help uncover the truth and move things forward. So he would seem like the right person to target, because the claim we're about to play is just laughable at best.
Right. But if you end up discrediting him, you're killing more than one bird with a stone, because you would then affect the task force, the UAP caucus, all the members of that organization, And then, of course, David Grush, which they had been targeting from day one.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's a good target.
Absolutely. And I think they got him. They got him on this one. It sounds like it's not just two people have come forward with information that truly sounds like disinformation. Let's go ahead and bring this up, Mike, and play it and see where it goes. Here we go. Let me know if you want to pause during it, but I think we can watch it all the way through. Let's play this.
Yeah, so do I. Let's listen to it.
Out of the way, a document. All right, let's play it.
I've had two people come to me that say that the Tic Tac is a Lockheed Martin creation. The latest person that came to me says that he has video of the first, second, and third iteration of the Tic Tac, and he's going to show me. So I'm trying to set that up.
Okay, so he's gonna show him. Some people out there on Twitter, Mike, were saying that he's seen the video, but clearly he hasn't.
That's not correct yet.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
But like you pointed out, it's interesting that he's making a public statement without seeing anything yet or vetting it.
Right.
That's going to bite him in the ass, as you and I are well aware of.
Yeah, this is almost where you'd need to take and go to UFO Twitter and everywhere else, Mike, in this particular situation to go ahead and let the community help prove or unprove this stuff is true. But let's listen more. Here we go.
Yeah.
The way he describes it is that they had a prototype, they've made changes to it, they've made it more advanced, and then now it's in iteration number 3, which I did see a photo of, and it looks like pretty advanced military craft, like a plane, but it's clearly human made. It's nothing that I've ever seen, our military has, but his claim is that they have discovered a propulsion that's a new type of propulsion. They used it in the first iteration, which was the Tic Tac. They have an intermediary one that they are more advanced with, and then now they're putting it inside of what looks conventional, so that it's not obvious.
Disguised. Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying eventually the tech makes its way into things that we're already familiar with.
Well,
right. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that people have brought up, Mike, with regards in tech where they were familiar with the B-2 bomber and the B-2 Spirit. Let me get back into the guest here. This plane here actually uses a kind of electrification, I believe, of the top and bottom side of the plane to help it do what it does, to stay silent. If you ask me, that sounds like something they could have thought of on their own, or could have been inspired by, if you want to call it, non-human intelligence technology. Now, taking a look at potentially, if they had a craft like the Tic Tac, they can go 80,000 feet in the air, right, Mike? And it can drop down to the surface in a, what do you call it?
3/4 of a second.
3/4 of a second, going about 54,000 miles per hour, right?
Right.
Why would you take that and put that in something that looks like a next generation plane if you don't need aerodynamics?
You wouldn't, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll go one step further. You said that Eric Burleson could have reached out to Twitter to see if anybody could debunk it or provide information to back it up. I'll go one better. He doesn't need to reach out to anybody. He's got David Grush that he could pick up the phone and say, hey, is this bullshit? And he would find out instantly if it was not. My thought on it.
Yeah, he would. That's a really great point.
So why didn't he do that? He's on payroll. He signs Grush's checks. Just pick up the goddamn phone before you go out with public statements.
Yeah.
And
this information isn't shared by a mistake. It's, if anything, it's a parroting of disinformation that was sent his way.
George Knapp made numerous statements about this on his podcast, and he said you wouldn't believe the amount of information and stories that get sent our way that we know is complete horseshit. They get flooded. So it seems like Burleson is now a favorite target because he's not as knowledgeable as George Knapp. And they took the risk of Burleson questioning it with Grush. And if he did that, he would have known immediately it was bullshit. But he didn't do that, so they got away with it.
Right. And, and don't forget, didn't we recently had another story about the Tic Tacs recently that was seen back in, 2023 or something?
Yeah. They There were new sightings of the Tic Tacs in formation, like there was back in 2004.
Right. But we never saw videos of them in formation in the past. Before we saw one at a time when it was being brought up on the radar scope. Not on the radar, but on the FLIR. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
you're right.
Now, this could be coming from like the executive branch, who have used, narrative control over classification and legislative instruments to purposely obstruct the public's understanding of what's going on, or it could be the deep state contractors or organization that goes beyond the executive branch. But at least we know where all this frickin' ties into.
Yeah, and again, he said it himself. He didn't even see the videos yet. Meanwhile, he's making a public statement on it. He's putting his credibility at risk. I'm surprised somebody didn't tell him that.
Yeah. Good point, Mike.
It's
Good
a
point.
mistake.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. If we look at the narrative, on July 26, 2023, we had retired U.S. Air Force intelligence officer David Grush, who provided sworn testimony to the U.S. House. Let me get back to the desk chat. All right, here we go. Where is that at?
That was the July 26th.
Yeah, the July 26th meeting. It was the Oversight Committee.
House Oversight Committee, UAP public hearing.
Yes, on national security, that the U.S. government is, and he said the U.S. government is in possession of non-human craft and biological evidence of not NHI. Now, here's the thing. Who was it? David Grush was supposed to have a op-ed that was going to come out a year and a half ago, and it never happened. And wasn't it about a month ago or so that we got a word from Grush that we should expect the op-ed in the next couple of weeks?
Yes, but a few weeks is going to come out, and that would have put it on or about around the time that the Task Force UAP hearing was scheduled for on May 12th. But now we're in May 25th, and we still haven't heard anything about it.
No, we haven't, have we?
No, we have not. Very strange.
Almost like, when is the next hearing going to happen?
Oh, no one has any clue about it because we already know, and we've reported on this on the show many times. Congress has not mentioned it, brought it up, scheduled it, moved forward, filed applications. But what they did do immediately after they canceled the UAP hearing on May 12th is they then put together the JFK Part 2 hearing on May 20th.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah, there was a recent soundbite that came from Anna Polina Luna with respect to the, if you want to call it, National Secrets Task Force, that they're trying to find some information about UAP. When the answer was given about what's up with the task force, we found out there's a 6-month extension. There wasn't any follow-up questions or anything to say, hey, what about that hearing? When's that going to happen?
No, not a word. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just a soundbite, like you said.
Yeah. Now, apparently they want to get everybody to come together in a skiff, and hopefully Grush eventually will have that waiver taken care of where he can talk about the USAPs or the executive level USAPs that are out there. That's going to be the useful thing that needs to get done. But it sounds like if Grush can't get his clearances, they can't bring stuff together. This almost feels like, could it be the administration? And also, remember, back in the end of January, there was a letter put out from Anna Polina Luna to the heads of all the agencies and all the people who were being nominated, saying by February 18th, right? Yeah. We want to go ahead and we want all your information on UAP for our task force. Excuse me, what information? Where's it at? Because as the information was coming in, they're supposed to be reading through it and releasing it to the public, not holding it all back. Which sounds like, Mike, there's nothing.
No, there isn't anything. Well, we know that already. The name of the task force is the Task Force on Government Secrets and Declassification.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be working with the White House to accomplish, and declassifying all of the documentation that the government has been keeping secret this entire time. But so far, they haven't moved or touched anything on to do with the UAP topic at all within the government.
So
Not yet.
it sounds like the leadership of these different agencies and bodies that report up to President Trump in the executive branch are obstructing transparency, accountability, and discovery.
Yeah, that would be correct.
And
Because if they don't declassify all of those documents and make this something that could be spoken about publicly, I'll go one better. If they were to actually, the White House was to declassify a lot of this information, David Grush wouldn't be hamstrung right now by his SCI clearance not being reinstated, and it probably never will be. They threw him a bone by giving him back his TS clearance, which you and I can qualify for TS clearance, but not the SCI. So they're holding that up because it's keeping him from talking. But if they actually declassified this from the president, he could come and speak publicly about it.
Yeah. And, Anna Polina Luna, on one of her many visits to the executive office, to the Oval Office, she could ask Trump to go ahead and, hey, grant this guy the security he needs. It's important for us.
Or declassify the information that he has already.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen them moving in any direction to do that.
No, not at all. If we
That's
can.
the problem.
Syrup has his hand up, Mike. Syrup, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, real quick. I had a couple things, but I'll start with this. Does Luna and them, if they just need to know where to go look for this stuff, how come they're not going and looking for this stuff? Is it because they don't know where to look, or what's the holdup on that?
They don't have subpoena power. They don't have the ability to go and rifle through the files of the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Energy, any of these locations, or our that matter, or anywhere in the Pentagon, any of the Pentagon's agencies, like or armed forces, like the Air Force or Space Force, etc. They don't have access to anything, so they have to rely on the leadership of those particular agencies to actually bring out the truth.
But again, if those files and that information within those various agencies are not declassified by the president, then you're never going to get it. They're not going to volunteer it.
No, they're not, are they?
No, they're not. That's the problem. And we're still up against it. Seems like nothing has really changed, unfortunately.
No, clearly it hasn't, Mike. Clearly it hasn't.
I know. That's why everybody's frustrated about this.
Yeah. Well,
they have every reason to be. Don't
forget, in addition to Grush, in 2023, last year we had, speaking at the SALT conference in New York on May 21st, 2024, retired U.S. Army Colonel Carl Nell, a former member of the U.S. Department of Defense's UAP task force, stated there is, quote, zero doubt that non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been going on. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
I wonder keeping the truth from coming out. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if some of those people could be, Mike, from the National Security Council, where there were just over 100 unelected bureaucrats that were just fired on Friday.
Well, it could be that the current administration is cleaning house. And we also know there's a personal agenda from the White House that any of the individuals that were in the prior administration that targeted him, they're now losing their jobs and their security clearances. So he could be just focusing on that right now. I don't know if it's going to end up on the UAP topic. I certainly hope it does at one point, but right now we're not there yet.
No, we're not. But it's still time from getting there. Next person who's been saying a lot of things, our dear friend Lou. He's a former senior leader of the ATIP, which is the Advanced Threat Identification Program. And he's recently confirmed that non-human intelligence exists, and they have their craft is not made by humans. So a lot of people have all been coming have been coming out, stating the facts as they know them, unfortunately without any hard facts or proof, but standing up one after the other, almost talking to the same dialogue, but from a different perspective.
Right. So let's say you're the government.
Right.
And you have people like David Grush, Paul Nell, and the recent whistleblower that came out publicly, Matthew Brown. And they're all saying the same thing. We're not alone on this earth. There's NHI, there's advanced technology, there are UAP that exist that are here with us. If you're the government, how do you counter that narrative? What would you be able to do to get people to not believe that story? The only other thing that they could possibly come up with is by saying, oh, these objects? Yeah, they're man-made. They're man-made, they're ours. Yeah, Lockheed made them. They put that bullshit story out so people would start to be not believing that maybe there is UAP and NHI present here on Earth with us.
Right.
And it seems like that narrative is going out with Burleson and with other people,
Yeah.
and including social media. They've been pushing this for a while now.
You know,
And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to buy it.
and if what these three guys has said is true, it raises an important question. How has the U.S. government managed to conceal revelations of such a strategic magnitude for decades, dating back to at least the World War II era?
Over 80 years.
Yeah.
Because Grush also said 1933, Magenta, Italy. There was
Yeah.
a crash and a recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been going on a hell of a long time.
And it has to be a multi-pronged effort. It's not likely due to a singular effort, but it's multiple agencies working in coordination with each other to mitigate, to go ahead and pull information out of the public sphere, to even go ahead and pull out classified information out of the networks that our military can go ahead and see, or our intelligence agencies can see, and to go ahead and just contain it as much as possible. But as technology moves forward, Mike, it's getting harder and harder to do that.
Oh, it is. But the amount of power that they wield, I'll give you as an example, the Wilson Davis memo, where Admiral Thomas Wilson had actually looked to track down a legacy UAP program, which he eventually located in Lockheed. But when he confronted the program manager, he was threatened. He was told, listen, you want to lose a star? Do you want to lose your job?
Yeah.
And he was told to go talk to his bosses, which he did, and they told him, drop it, leave it alone.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you just how high up these people are in being able to block this information from coming out.
Yeah. Well, think about this. In 2020, in the next several years after, when we had the virus that was going around that a lot of people got, and I still got about a month ago. You know, the government has been manipulating the media, pulling cycle operations on the people, and they discredit, stigmatize, and threaten those who go contrary to the statements the government is releasing, even though they know it's disinformation. So we've seen that as recently a fully coordinated operation on this, and I wouldn't doubt this started back in '47 with the crash of Roswell going forward.
Or even earlier than that, according to David Grush, from 1933.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been going on a hell of a long time, and they've managed to keep it locked down, with the exception of these whistleblowers who've been coming forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Mike. We have a caller, actually one of our viewer call-in folks here, calling in from the great state of Texas, our recliner-in-chief, Ed Brown. What say you?
No, Thomas, I was listening to another interview with Ron James, filmmaker Ron James, and he said one of the things that he thinks would be very sad, unfortunate, would be if they have, and this related to what we're talking about, if they had this program so locked down after 80 years that the people that started it are all dead, the people that were moved in later are probably all dead or retired, to where we get to the point where we lose where anyone knows what's going on, where it's locked down, but then no one knows it's there or why it's there. I think that would be a serious problem.
It's
Yeah.
a good point, Ed. But I'll tell you how deep the rabbit hole actually goes. The legacy UAP program, and it's compartmentalized. So what that means is they usually have a handful of people that are working on a specific part of the program. And we understand that there are 2,000 separate legacy programs that the government operates, with a handful of people in each. So they're able to keep that locked down because they have such a small number that they can control over each faction of these programs. that anybody that would want to come forward wouldn't be able to do so, not without putting themselves at great risk. That's how the government controls this.
All right. The other part of that, too, is with some of those lockdown programs, they're probably identical to another lockdown program that's looking at the very same thing, but they can't talk to each other. So essentially, we're spending twice the amount of government money to research the same subject by two or more different groups simultaneously.
Well, that might be the case, Ed, but the other part of it that I find interesting is David Grush had testified and spoken publicly about the fact that these programs, they are embedded and hidden within prosaic SAP programs that are dealing with routine intelligence operations that are going on globally with the United States. So they hide pieces of the legacy program, the SAPs, in regular SAPs. The reason they do that is because from a legal standpoint, and we've had this conversation, Thomas and I, with Lou's personal attorney, Ivan Hanel, who's been on the show repeatedly. And what he said is that if you are looking into the legacy program, but you have to go through a prosaic program to get there, unless you have specific clearances for that prosaic program, you're never going to find out about the legacy program. You can't get through that.
I'm agreeing with you, Mike. I think that that does complicate things. I just question whether we're ever going to break loose and really get some new information that is really going to tell us something.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Ed, but I'll tell you this. And Thomas has said this from day one, if the White House, if the president decides to declassify and make this information publicly available, like during his campaign he promised to do, and if he follows through with that, then that's the only way that we'll get it. And even Eric Davis said the same thing that Thomas has been saying the entire time. Yeah. He said the only way we're going to get actual disclosure is from the top down, and it's going to have to come from the White House. President's going to have to sign off on it,
and hopefully, Mike, it could be coming from someone like Tulsi Gabbard. I know the rumor mill's out there potentially. It's something on her list because she brought up wanting to address UFOs and declassify that information in her, if you want to call it, hearings for her confirmation. So I think it's going to be there, but there's a lot of international issues, and there's a big mess with the intelligence community that probably needs to get cleaned up first.
Which, as we know, she spoke publicly a few weeks ago that she is cutting 25% of the workforce in the ODNI. So, yeah, she's got an agenda, and she's in the middle of doing all of that. People are losing their jobs as we speak. Until she gets through all of it, we're not really going to get anything close on the UAP topic yet. So it's a waiting game at this point.
Yeah. Exactly. Talking about hiding information, and the government's doing a good job on it. As of in 2024, I've got a news report coming in here from Fox News. We'll jump onto this one because it kind of goes with it, along with it. That there have been over 350 UAS/drone sightings over military bases that went on in calendar year 2024. We're not talking the drones that happened, that came over New Jersey and everything. We're talking about the ones that went to Langley. Or was it? Yeah, Langley, I believe. Langley. And shut it down. And the ones that are going to all these other military bases in the United States, around the world. So there have been 350 of these incursions. And you know what? Even now, when something is clearly a UAP, they've got the new UAS term to try and throw off the public.
Right, because it distracts them from the truth.
Yeah.
People say, oh, it's just a drone. We're familiar with that now. It's been in the public lexicon since we had the drone flap from November.
Yeah.
Last November. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's jump to this story here coming to us from Fox News, and it all kind of ties into our topic we're talking about today. That is, again, if you're joining us late, we're talking about U.S. government UFO disinformation and secrecy. Let's hear what limited information they're willing to give to us on this video from Fox News. Here we go.
Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gallups with me now, U.S. Army veteran who flew Black Hawk helicopters, and sir, good day to you. When you heard that number from William there, 1,600 last year, including military installations, how do we stop this?
that's the question of the moment, right? It seems like that's just 1,600 that we know of. And I will tell you that the number of drone incursions and sightings has doubled in some sectors on the southern border, in some cases quadrupled, and that is becoming even a more significant threat down there than is often portrayed. How you stop this, in some regard, it is a measure of the law, what military bases are allowed to do, what individuals are allowed to do, law enforcement, etc. You have to let them know what they're capable of doing, what they're legally allowed to do, and then continue to develop the counter-UAS technologies that we're way behind on, despite having been warned about this for 20 years.
Yeah,
and
Colonel,
unfortunately, the use of drones. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. They're spying on us, aren't they?
They are. Absolutely, they're spying on us. And Mexico, whether it's the drug gangs or others, can spy on us from across the border of Mexico, and we can do nothing about it. And of course, with the incursions across the border, with the illegal alien invasion that's moved in, these people are flying drones over top of our military installations. And if they don't cross the fence line, they're looking into these bases from the edges, trying to see whatever vulnerabilities they can find and exploit.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Here's the Joint Chiefs of Staff Admiral, what we heard from a moment ago. More now, watch.
We know that cartels have used UAS for unauthorized surveillance to assess our troop size, our movements, to solicit and enable attacks from other vectors. That is where the bulk of our counter-UAS capability is actually located, is overseas. And hence the problem here in the homeland is we have very limited and sparse and distributed capability across the multitude of installations we have.
That's a remarkable thing to hear. So the cartels are running them. Do you know of a single incident where we've shot one of those drones out of the sky, as we suspected them to be operated by the cartels to run money, to run drugs, and run people?
Yes, it has happened. Not getting into specifics, of course, but in many cases, it's shotguns is one way of doing that if it's a smaller, lower altitude type of thing. But there are technologies that do exist that allow us to basically immobilize them or make them ineffective. That's one of the.
Oh, Mike, I have to go ahead and pause this because my bullshitometer is freaking going off the freaking charts right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
When they had the drone incursions that were going on over Langley or other Air Force bases, they never go ahead and shoot anything down, do they?
No, not without direct authorization to open fire in a civilian area, which Ed, I'm sure, will confirm.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to open fire. Are they, Ed?
I would say that's true. That not knowing the specific ROE, we wouldn't know for sure, but we do agree that they did not shoot any down at Langley.
Oh, absolutely. That they shot nothing down over Langley. They had to evacuate the flight line down to Oceana Air Force, Naval Air Force Base, to get those valuable assets the hell out of there.
And the same thing with Wright Pat when there were incursions over there. So I'm not sure on this report if we've shot any that we believe to be on the southern border or not.
I mean, come on, he's saying I could take a shotgun and shoot one down. When's the last time you heard of the military equipping their soldiers with shotguns? I think this guy is, he's trying to push his narrative with regard, and Fox News' narrative with regards to security at the border, when those incursions they're talking about are everywhere, not just along the United States-Mexico border.
Thomas, but I'll bet over at Langley and those places, when they're over someone's house, I'll bet there were a few people use their own personal shotguns to shoot at those things.
Oh, well, we know that's true, Ed, because when we were covering the drone flap over New Jersey every day while that was going on, there were civilians who were shooting at these things, even though they were told not to. So, of course, the public is going to take a stand, regardless of if it's authorized or not.
But we don't
right about that.
That were actually captured or shot down and then observed, do we?
No, but I believe at one night, there was one night that we covered, there were reports that one of the drones over New Jersey had actually come down and they recovered it, but they never confirmed that. So we don't know if it was a civilian who shot it down or it just crashed.
Well, you might also recall, that's been a few months back, an airplane that actually landed on a bridge. I don't know if you remember that. And the first thought was it was one of them, but it turned out to be an airplane.
It was Westchester, upstate New York. That plane came down. It was near Westchester Airport. and they thought it was a drone. And it wasn't, it was a Cessna. You got a good memory, Ed. That's correct. Yeah, so there was a lot of confusion going on, chaos at that time.
I pay attention to the show.
No, I know you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's click on and watch the rest of this video. Here we go, folks. Remember, if you're new to the show, you're having a good time, you're enjoying it, do us a favor, give us a subscribe. We'd love to have you as a regular viewer here on Disclosure tonight. And if you are a subscriber on the show, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate the feedback. It helps the algorithm share our videos with more people on YouTube. So let's continue. Here we go.
Was to basically immobilize them or make them ineffective. That's one of the things that we're going to have to continue to develop, because they operate differently on different platforms, different sizes, altitudes, and capabilities, and each one of them often takes different requirements in order to make them ineffective or to bring them down. So unfortunately, this was an anticipated threat to the homeland that I personally wrote a master's thesis about this over 15 years ago in order to highlight this concern and develop things for the future. It's here, it's going to continue to grow, and we need to work very hard to outpace this threat.
Well, you wrote about this 15 years ago? That's remarkable in itself. Let me ask you, has it played out the way you did, or maybe the better question?
Mike, I'm calling bullshit here. I'd love to see his paper calling out the drone threat from 15 years ago.
Let me clear that up for you, Thomas. There was no drone threat 15 years ago. It's that simple.
Yeah. Oh, in other words, we're dealing with...
Oh, a bullshit artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, let's listen a bit more. Here we go.
What has surprised you 15 years later?
I think the only thing that I didn't capture then was the advent of artificial intelligence speeding up some things. But we're basically what I anticipated was what you're seeing with China, with mass production and cheap and lethal, with the technology that Israel developed that's proliferating just because of what they made other countries are noticing, and exactly this what we're talking about today, which was the use of these drones by drug gangs and narco terrorists on our border. Those were the three I highlighted, and each one of them.
But again, we're not just talking about narco terrorists across the border, my friend. We're talking about something much bigger and much more dangerous. So, yeah, Fox News delivers it, but then misses the mark, Mike, unfortunately.
No, you're right about that. It's, for lack of a better word, I could say you could classify it almost like disinformation.
Right. Well, remember now, disinformation violates Executive Order 12333, which it's just sad that the Congress has not codified this because it goes back a while. It explicitly prohibits U.S. government agencies from engaging in covert disinformation campaigns to influence domestic political process or public opinion. And that's exactly what we're seeing that's been going on.
No, you're absolutely right about that. It's a shame that we're going in this direction instead of actual disclosure that was promised.
Oh, I know.
By this administration.
I mean, because kind of what we're kind of looking at is the suppression of the non-human intelligence that's here, and the UAP is not an isolated or unique irregularity, but part of a broader historical strategy of concealing and actively suppressing scientific breakthroughs and technological advancements.
Right. No, you're right. This is going in the wrong direction fast.
Yeah.
Between Congress and the military making statements like this, not good.
Yeah. I mean, case in point, when David Grush testified under oath before Congress back in 2023, the U.S. government engaged in covert UAP, that the government did engage in covert UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs. Not long after that, RO's then director, Sean Kirkpatrick, Mr. Pinocchio himself, swiftly dismissed Grush's claims despite similar statements by former intelligence officials and military personnel dating back decades.
Right. He even went so far as to publicly state that to keep this secret a secret for so long, that people had been murdered and were killed, which is a capital crime.
Yeah.
So this goes far and deep and deadly, obviously, at certain points.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it gets to the point kind of where they're so far down the rabbit hole that they have to keep it going no matter what, because we've got that situation that Lewis brought up and Hal Puthoff has brought up. You've got Company A that gets a sample of UAP material or UFO material, and they're working with this for 10, 20 years. Down the road, when it comes time, they've got advancements that their competitors don't have, but because they got this advantage that was given to them by the federal government, now they've been given a, if you want to call it, an unfair advantage that should have been handed out industry-wide. But they're not doing that now because why? They're afraid of inspiring our foreign adversaries. But the truth of the matter is, UAPs just don't crash in the United States. They crash in the United States. They crash in Russia. They crash in China. They crash everywhere.
Oh, they do, all around the world. It's not unique to the United States. Never has been. We had Roswell in 47, but Italy had a craft that was recovered back in 33. So, yeah, it doesn't matter what time or where on the planet, they're occurring everywhere. These objects.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yes, sir, they are.
Yeah. Now, if we look at the back at the UAPTF, right?
Yeah.
Right after we had the hearing that happened back, and I think it was April in 2020, the Department of Defense with the UAPTF put out new guidelines that prohibited the public release of any and all UAP-related videos and images, regardless of whether such information constitutes a meaningful threat to national security. That right there, if there was nothing here, and there was nothing going on, like Aro and everyone has been saying for the longest time, right? Why would they go ahead and put this guideline that's that's very strictly enforced in place?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, they did it because they know there's something there, although it's contrary to what their statement is. They were basically plugged the loophole that allowed the videos that got out with Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon back in the day when Lou left the Pentagon in 2017.
Right. That's right.
And there have been a lot of videos that Lou's commented on, Mellon's commented on, other people have, that those videos should be able to be brought out today. There's nothing in there that would, if you want to call it, expose our methods of how these things were taking or what we were doing to get it, to go ahead and bring out that truth. But they're still clamped down on it.
Well, I think you pointed out many times that when we have an incursion by, let's say, Russian aircraft dumping fuel on one of our drones, our Reaper drones, they're able to release that video and properly scrub it, are they not?
Yeah, of course they can. But they're saying any video or image, regardless if it violates national security or whatever it would be potentially, they don't want any of it out, nothing.
Right. That was the National Security Guide that was put out by Scott Bray from Naval Intelligence after the meeting that he appeared in, and said that he was going to move forward to look into the information that Congress was asking him about, and said he'd try to find out what he could reveal to them. Meanwhile, he concocted this National Security Guide that's still in force as of today, that now classifies any and all material regarding this subject that the government has access to information on.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Well, if you look back in time, in 1951, we got the Invention Security Act.
Yes,
then back in
that's a nice, tricky
1946, we got the Atomic Energy Act, locking a lot of information away. But if you go back to the day after Roswell, literally the day after Roswell, Mike, you know what we got? The National Security Act.
We got the CIA, the National Security Act, the Air Force. We got a lot of things that we're still struggling with to get the truth out of till today.
Right.
So that all occurred in 1947. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's going to take the president to finally undo all of the classification and damage that's been put into place from then to now.
Yeah. I mean, even talking about the Invention Security Act, we have thousands of patents remain under secrecy orders, including inventions related to novel energy production and the distribution of propulsion systems. These classified patents represent an untapped reservoir of scientific advancement that could address societal needs and move our society forward or give the United States an advantage. But again, the fear is that this information gets out to our enemies, but it's just, after a while, it just becomes a mute point.
Right, because it's not just people in the United States that are filing patents and doing this kind of work. There are people all around the world that are doing similar work. So all we're doing is putting ourselves behind any advancements that could come out.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
What the hell?
Schmucks. They're hiding the truth even from us.
Yeah.
And eventually it comes out. Yeah.
It's a good way to put it, a good way to look at it, my friend. Let me go ahead and see what I've got here now. Help. Let me see if I've got this. I can throw this up in the background as we're talking about it. Let me get to, where is this at? I've got a clip here I want to talk about. Hal Puthoff was recently on Joe Rogan.
Yes, he was.
Did you get a chance to watch that, Mike?
I did.
Yeah. One of the interesting points that Hal brought up when he was there was back in the day during which is the second Bush? Herbert
Walker's the first.
GW, right?
Yeah, George Walker.
Bush
is
the second one. Absolutely.
Right.
Now, George Walker, when he was around, let me go ahead and get this up here as we're talking about it. This is like an 11-minute clip that I cannot play, but we'll throw it in the background as we're talking about it, Mike, because it makes absolute sense to go ahead and cover this. Let me zoom that up a couple more times. Get this adjusted in the background so we've got something to look at as we're going ahead through this. All right. I've got that. Okay. Now, Puthoff was actually brought in to Washington, D.C., although he initially declined. He was brought into Washington, D.C. to meet with a group discussing the pros and cons of bringing out disclosure, of whether or not we should go ahead and know. And they looked at everything. And every single thing that they looked at, from how the stock market would align to how our government would go on, what would happen to religions, what would happen to society as a whole. In smaller groups, as they all looked at it, there's a positive that would come out of it or a negative that would come out of it, and add the numbers together, divide by the sum, and each group came up with an average in everything that they were dealing with. Out of all the people that came together in this particular group, Mike, every single group at that time came out and said disclosing the truth about the non-human intelligence would negatively impact our government and society. Now, today, Hal has a different view on it, and he thinks the truth should come out. But it seems like this old adage that's out there, we can't bring out the truth because it's going to affect everything. But even most recently, we had Elizondo come out again on his interview talking about the F-16 that impacted impacted the cockpit of a F-16 flying over Arizona. And he basically came out and said, yeah, we can handle the truth. So what do you think it's going to take for us to get the truth, Mike?
I think, like you have been saying the entire time, we're going to need the president to finally move towards disclosure, or we're not going to get it. There's no way Congress or anybody else for that matter is going to get through all of the hurdles that is in place with the government unless the president steps in and with the swipe of a pen declassifies this information once and for all. That's what it's going to take. Simple as that.
Yep. I hope we can get there. But right now, I mean, if you look at what's been going on with disclosure and the news and it's out there, it's been drier. It's been a drought, and it's getting worse, it looks like.
Yeah, well, it's really slowed down a hell of a lot. I mean, it was almost completely dead for 2024.
Right.
And now we seem to be in that lull again where nothing is moving forward.
Oh, yeah. See if I can
That's the problem.
find this. I know I just asked some questions on this the other day. I'm trying to find it. I know we were talking about this with ChatGPT. I even sent you the link, didn't I, Mike? Oh, here we go. FAA. Now, one of the things that's interesting besides the stuff that's going on with Hal Puthoff and what he's bringing out, where we're at, I brought up the impact that happened in between the F-16 down in Arizona in the Barry M. Goldwater range, where it damaged the aircraft's canopy and temporarily grounded it, right?
Correct.
Now, interesting thing here, folks. If I go ahead and I've got an image here, I want to go ahead and bring up. Where is that at? I just had it here a second ago. All right. We've got a map of the Barry M. Goldwater range. And I looked at the map and we took a look at it and getting into it. And I saw, wait a minute. This is Interstate 8. Not that far from Interstate 8. What we're dealing with is this huge range where it goes on. And you know what took place there, Mike? Beyond that, if I were to go to Google Maps and bring it up really quick, let's look for Sentinel, Arizona. If I were to bring up the map of Sentinel, Arizona, Mike, this is... Oh, where can I get rid of this? There we go. Right here, Sentinel, Arizona. You know what happened in Sentinel, Arizona, don't you?
Oh, I sure as hell do.
That is the spot where Nikki went down. And if I go ahead and I believe this is the frontage road, this is the rest stop where he stopped at. Was it right in here or was it further down? Thought I had it. Here we go. That's that rest stop. He wasn't at that one. He was, I believe, at this rest stop. Let me drop a pin right down here. Okay. This is the rest stop, and this is the spot where Nikki was parked at the rest stop, looking directly at the Barry M. Goldwater range. And this is a range, it's not just a place where they go ahead and do a lot of everything. This is a place where there were training exercises going in play, right? Where he actually went and interacted, and he saw it coming down the highway. He got off and he parked and he saw there was a UAP going on at that location. Let me get back to the channel here. Let me just get this one video downloaded one more time. Of course, I don't have it ready, but I'll get it there in 1 second. Copy video URL. Let me just download it one more time. Not there. This one. It'll just take a second for us to get it. Now, this is Sentinel, Arizona, pointing towards the Barry M. Goldwater in the spot where Nikki was at. And this is the place where not only was a recent F-16 impacted, but this is where Nikki saw something of a phenomenal piece. Now, one thing that's interesting, one of the top spots, Mike, for viewing UFOs in the United States is a little bit to the east of here, looking in the same general direction, where they've seen a bunch of different orbs moving in formation in the sky. So I know some of the people who have watched this show in the past are familiar with this video. Let me get this one up here. We're going to play it, and it's just something I want to try and hit home and say, yes, that is an area where things are active, and it's more than just a potential UAS that's impacting with the planes. There are things going out there that are not of this world. Let me go ahead and play this. Here we go.
There we go. Alright. Trying to get it in focus.
Now, just to go ahead and remind the audience, Mike, Nikki actually called in to the show while it was live, right as he was recording some of this stuff, to let us know what was going on and what he was seeing.
Right. And we told him, let's see the video.
Oh, yeah, we got it. We got it, my friend. And there are many things in the sky. In all, I believe there's like 13 things in the sky moving back and forth and everything. This is not your average. I would say this is something far from being a military operation going on. Because you know what, Mike? There's no sound. If there were F-16s flying around, you'd hear them. If there were helicopters flying around, you'd hear them.
Yeah, you'd be on the video. Sure you would.
Let's play it.
You can't hide that.
No, you can't. Here we go.
To get this thing to focus. So not prepared for this. Focus more.
We got one here that's moving. We got another one over here that's moving. We got another one that's over here that's moving. We got another one that's over here. Of course, the two big ones there. We got one going right at that spot. There we go.
Look at those guys. What in the fuck? Oh my god.
This one here as it goes back.
Holy shit, dude. Oh my god. Dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh my god. Dude. I need to get my other camera. Alright. Holy shit, dude. Alright. We're getting the other camera. Hold on one second.
So people want to know, is this a special camera? This is a Psionics sport camera that he has, and none of the lights that he's seeing could be seen with the eye. It was completely dark out there, but he had seen this with his camera.
Holy shit. Alright. Fuck. Alright, we're gonna try and place this on the thingamabobber here.
Now, this is the... He set down the values. Tell Nikki, you need to have a tripod, my friend. When he sets down the camera, when it's shooting out the, if you want to call it, through the glass of the windshield, it actually gets some more UV coverage on it. And it actually gets, this is some of the best ways you can see all the different craft that are moving around at this time.
All right. All right, I'm going to set that down.
Here, another one over here, another one over here.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
So he goes to bring out his camera, his 4K camera that was fully charged, and he goes to bring it out, and the battery's completely dead.
Dude, this thing's dead. You gotta be kidding me, dude. What in the fuck? Seriously? This thing's out of batteries. You gotta be shitting me right now. What in the fuck?
Now, these two objects that are out here, Mike, in the distance, those eventually actually come towards him and go over his head, which basically disqualifies him truly as being a flare.
Yeah, these are not flares. And I can tell you, Nicky was signaling with his flashlight, and it was signaling back. That's definitely not a flare.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, My other camera's out of batteries. That's really shitty. And this infrared, I can't quite get it. There's a train going by there. I can't get it. Like,
you know, he's disappointed in his coverage, Mike, but at that point, I don't think he's realizing how much stuff he's actually capturing.
The communication going back and forth between him and these obviously intelligently operated craft, that says it all right there. That's the most important part, I think, of all of this.
Yeah.
Focused enough.
And just so everybody knows, I put this video together for Nick. I put the copyright in the center. We have the ability to go ahead and actually play it back as much as we want and everything. But I put it out there because a lot of times when people put out UFO videos, Mike, they just get taken and go everywhere, and the original person never gets credit for what was found.
That's correct. They still do that to this day, unless it has the logo and a copyright on it. So they'd steal it in a minute.
Oh yeah.
These things are just sitting here right now, and they look brighter because of the infrared, but if I could get my other camera to work, I might actually get something really sick. Okay, I'm gonna charge that other thing.
But what he's not realizing is all around it, we're getting little craft that are all moving around in addition to those larger objects.
All right, I'm gonna do one more. 2, 3. All right, I signaled it. Let's see what we get. That was sick what we got earlier. Okay, I'm gonna put this down and I'm gonna try and get the other camera working. Whatever happened a minute ago was fucking incredible. I've never seen some shit like that. Like, I never got it to pop off like that. That was so sick. Freaking out. Alright, hold on. I mean, I got them to fly over earlier. Look, that one's dimming out. Whoa, what the oh yeah, that's just reflection. I'm trying to get this thing to focus as much as possible. Wow, okay. They're completely invisible to the naked eye, FYI. Completely invisible.
That one is still there, too.
Okay, I'm going to shut off this recording.
You know, Mike, as far as the things he thinks are going around, you can still see the actual objects there. They're just not brightly lit at this point.
Yeah, I can see it. There's a pattern.
Charge my 4K camera. I'm going to try one more little signal here. I signaled. I got nothing. Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully whatever happened before I got it on tape. So, all right, I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to charge my other camera. Here we go.
Yeah. So, Mike, again, as we were just talking about a bit ago, this is in the same theater of operations of where the F-16 was that impacted a UFO.
Right. And the fact that Nikki was able to get these objects to communicate back to him, I don't think there's any other video out there that demonstrates that type of communication.
Oh, hell no, my friend.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
All the people that we showed this video to, like Dr. Jim Segala, never seen anything like that either.
I mean, this video was shared with Lou, and it was shared from Lou. It was shared with Christopher Mellon as well, along with the analysis on it.
Yeah, I know. but it's exclusive. We have it, and it shows actual communication directly with NHI.
Yeah, that it does. And
I
it's in
know.
an area where other things that have been in the news lately have happened in the past.
It seems like that area over there is a hotspot for these objects.
Gotta wonder why.
The military installation might have something to do with it.
Training grounds, and it's also not far from the Pacific and the Sea of Cortez. Let me get in here to maps again. If we bring this up, let me get to, where do I search? Where in the hell is that at? Here we go. Sentinel, Arizona. Let's bring this Google map back up again for us to go ahead and take a look at. Let's go ahead and get it here. 1 second. I'll have it up for everyone to take a look at. All right, here we go. Okay. Here is Sentinel, Arizona, where it took place. The area where the drones and everything, or not the drones, the UFOs that he was seeing was back in this particular area, right back in here, probably back in here, based on the distance. But if you look, it goes to the south. It's not that far from the Sea of Cortez, which has had a lot of sightings. But Mike, it's also very close to the Isle of Guadalupe, which is a place where I guess people aren't allowed to go in a plane. It's in a military restricted zone. Potentially, this is where the UFO, the Tic Tacs were heading towards and going underwater in this general direction.
During the 2004 Nimitz encounter with the Tic Tac, it was near the Isle of Guadalupe.
That's correct. Now, not that far from there is also by Isle de Cedros, where we have these really interesting mile-wide structures that go in a straight line that have 90-degree angles, things that are intersecting them. That is completely unknown, and majority of the area is all the, if you call it mapping of the sea floor, is all redacted.
Oh, yeah, Google had that removed, those images. Right?
Yep, absolutely. So this area in general, granted, it's, if you want to call it a distance to here, it just shows that this area is a hot spot for UAP, whether it's down right along here. But if you just go to the west, remember we had all the different stuff going on in San Diego and the Channel Islands that were happening with the USS Russell and such.
Right.
And I believe this is a similar area to where they had the additional Tic Tac sightings in 2023. It's never stopped, has it?
No, and it's never stopped. And we made points like that when they released that information publicly. Oh, it's ongoing in the same place it first took place in 2004. It's a hotspot. There's something going on there that these objects are persistently operating out of.
You think?
Well, you know what? The video from Nikki, it makes me think and wonder. We saw that the objects were communicating back with Nikki. Well, one was. But does that mean that when the military encounter these objects in that general area, are they, at the time of the encounter, communicating back with the military? They might be, because that seems to be their behavior. But the military has never disclosed that. We haven't heard stories about it, even though we just seen that exact encounter with our very own eyes on the video.
Yeah.
So is there more to this that they're hiding, that they still don't want to come out? And it seems like Nikki actually videotaped it. That's interesting.
It certainly looks that way, Mike. It certainly looks that way. Now, jumping to something kind of interesting here to a degree is you've heard of that beluga sphere thing that's been going on down in Mexico or down South America, right?
Yeah, no, it's Mexico. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And
we're in Jaime Maussan territory now.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. He's the kind of guy who's, he's thrown 99 things out there. And out of 99, he's throwing 100 things out there. And out of those 100 things, probably one of them could be true. So you can't always throw out the baby with the bathwater. Now, one of the most interesting things they came out recently, Mike, is they were checking out this sphere with a high-power microscope.
Yes, they were.
And this is what they found. They found that something that they were going ahead and calling out, looking at the sphere, Mike, that they had actually found something that looks like fiber optics.
That's certainly what it looks like, and that's what they've been reporting.
Yeah, and it's been in the news, and everybody's been covering it and the whole thing. We've got some other stuff once we get past this. So now, if I go back to the original image here with the full thing, this is the microscope that they were using, Mike, to go ahead and look at it. It's a handheld multi-USB digital microscope, 50 to 500x, goes for $26.99. One thing, if you notice, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 lights. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, a spacer, and 1, 2, 3, 4 going into it, right? These are the LEDs that are going and lighting this thing up.
Right.
If you look at the images that are there, would you look at that? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 a space, and 1, 2, 3, 4 in a space. So while they're calling us out and saying, oh my God, look, there's fiber optics on this thing, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at a reflection of the camera itself in the sphere's surface. And what we're seeing is there are a bunch of irregular and different size pitting in the surface that you don't see unless you zoom in with a microscope.
Right.
And they have people who came out and they've, and they've brought it out and they're experts and they're trying to say what it is. Oh my, this is the biggest bunch of hogwash that's out there at this point. I hate to say.
But more bullshit, sounds like to me, Thomas.
Oh, I know. And I thought I got some more images of this thing. Okay, another piece just to go ahead and prove our point on this. Now, this is an image of the sphere.
Yeah.
When they had first started talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And they had and they were weighing it and showed a picture of a wing saying it was changing size and everything. Well, if you look at that shape we've got going right here of that, if you want to call it the circuitry it's on there, it's not there. It's just got some lines on it. But then you go to the next one and look at all of the additional work that they've done to the sphere to go ahead and give it more detail. So we've got take one, where it's just these shapes here. It's completely clear. There's nothing on the sides and the whole bit. And now you've got additional things that are being etched into it and everything else. The one thing I also want to go ahead and point out on this really quick, we've seen the carvings that have gone in Egypt that are in rose granite, and it's perfectly cut, perfectly smooth lines in the whole bit. This, if you look at the details that are getting into this is choppy. This is schlocky. This isn't something done by a advanced civilization. This clearly has...
Somebody did this by hand, it looks like.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right. And they did a shitty job.
But why are they... I guess they're trying to go ahead and make themselves famous and make these things famous, but it's not doing anybody any good, is it?
No. No, it's not. It's putting the same horse shit out there, which eventually will have people looking at this and not taking any of it seriously because of it. Yeah. Which is the goal. They want people to lose interest and not pay attention to anything going on. And when horse shit like this comes out and people can tell, obviously, that it's not what they're claiming it to be, it makes people lose interest.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the initial shapes, things going on. We've got the arcs going on. We've got some writing going around it. But then that whole center design of the circuitry, there's absolutely nothing there.
Correct. And these photographs show that.
Yeah. You know, Mike, what I have to say, and even look at this arc here, how it flattens that out. It's far less than perfect. And if this was by a non-human intelligence, everything would here on perfect. You know what this is doing, Mike? This is preying on the audience of people who want to believe, and they're willing to take anything.
And it seems like that's certainly what they're getting with this. Anything, nothing of any value, unfortunately.
Yeah. We wish it was different. Absolutely, 100%. But, we're not going to take it. We'll take stuff that's real and we'll call it out. But when there's something that's definitely fake that's out there that's obvious, we're going to, I guess we could say we're debunking, but we're not really that. We're just qualifying.
Calling it out for what it is.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
The same stuff that goes on when we're getting promises from people in Washington and we're going to have this hearing. All these things are going to go on. What do I always tell our audience? Don't get excited. Don't follow the hype, because all it's going to happen is, if nothing comes out of it, is you're going to be let down again and again and again. And what the people out there don't realize is you keep on putting these things on there. Okay, buckle up, strap in. All the community is going to get stuck with is this strap on, and when they're grabbing their ankles.
That's right. No, you called that out, and that's exactly how it turned out to be.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but I also believe that this entire disinformation, I think we have more information about that and what the government has been doing, don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I know so.
We've got a good look in behind the scenes on a lot of stuff that's going on, and we have conversations with people off the record, of course, that are covered that we can't talk about. But yeah, we're part of the conversation, behind the conversation.
We are, and have been for a long time now.
Yeah.
You and I.
Trying to see if I'm just going through X right now, seeing if there's anything new out there, and it's dead as a frickin' doornail.
But we have something from Danny that we can go over with the audience. Don't we?
Yeah, take the lead, Mike.
Well, I don't have the article in front of me.
What do you no, we already talked through that article.
Oh, with the disinformation?
Oh, yeah. That's what the first half of our show was about.
Oh, okay.
We covered all the major talking points in it, trust me. Let's see, is there anything that I did not miss? We talked about the patents. We talked about the secrecy. I guess we could say, getting back and recapping on the conversation about the U.S. government's disinfo and secrecy, how are we going to get around it? There's a need for a systemic reform, and it's urgent. Legislative vehicles are available, but part of our problem, Mike, is our legislator, the House of Representatives, is in a shambles. You got it, the Senate, they're not working together. Both parties aren't working together. Everyone has their initial partisan politics they're jumping for, but there's nothing to coalesce this into a single movement, is there?
No, there absolutely is not.
Yeah. No. There is talk coming that they want to bring the UAP Disclosure Act that died in 2023 and died again in 2024 back for a third time. Biggest mistake they could ever make, Mike.
Of course it's a mistake, but that's all we seem to be getting is mistakes instead of getting to what we're really looking for, which is the truth.
And it's clearly a mistake with their UAP Records Review Board model after the JFK Assassination Records Review Board. It didn't work then. It's not going to work for this. It's just going to lead to an extended cover-up and give a president an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm never going to declassify that. The information is never coming out. It's going to push disclosure back another 20 years.
You're absolutely right about that. And it's the same thing with the UAPDA that they tried to put through twice and failed, and now they want to do it for a third time.
Yeah.
The same shit.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully they can get someone to go ahead and give little bite-sized nuggets that can go stand on their own, so they don't throw out the baby with the bathwater again.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think if they do put it through in its original inception, it's going to fail for a third time. And if that happens, then we're not really going to get any legislation that will open the doors further than they already are. And it's unfortunate. But, if they can't pass this dog shit through for the bill, they should focus, I think, on new legislation for increased whistleblower protection, which we sorely need on the books. So when people come out like David Grush and Matthew Brown and all of these people who haven't come out publicly yet, they're properly protected and secure, and the legislation needs to be put into place to do that. And I don't see anybody really focusing on that. The only one who did in the past few years was Tim Burchett, who put together his own little small bill and tried to get that through for increased whistleblower protection, but it never went anywhere.
He had one for increased whistleblower protections, but he had one in the past, I believe in the last Congress, that was a UAP something to push for UAP disclosure. And it basically says the federal government has to go ahead and release everything. It's a simple one-page document to get out there, maybe 2 pages at the absolute most. Now, in February of this year, Burchett, if you want to call it, submitted that as well again. Nothing that's been taken up by the House of Representatives. They haven't been interested in finding. And that's going to be the hard part, Mike, is if we go after this outside of the regular National Defense Authorization Act and the Intelligence Authorization Act for 2026 at this point, and they try to get it to be a regular legislation, it's going to have to come up for a vote in the House, and it's going to be near impossible to go ahead and get it there with the leadership we have in the House of Representatives, which is Mike Johnson.
Right. Mike Johnson is not an advocate for disclosure.
Right.
Never has been.
You got to remember, though, Mike Johnson is
Speaker of the House.
One of 4 people that would be aware of an unacknowledged presidential special access program. It's not the gang of 8. This is the gang of 4.
Right.
We're talking about the leader of the House, the minority leader of the House, the leader of the Senate, the minority leader of the Senate. That's it. No, none of the heads of the intelligence or defense committees, they have no vote on it whatsoever. It's only those 4 that would know about this information. And if Mike Johnson has been potentially read in on some of this stuff, he may have a reason that he doesn't want to bring this stuff out. Maybe because it could affect Christianity as a whole. Who knows?
Right, because we know he's a firm believer in religion, so that could bias his responsibility in Congress, which we already know it has.
Yeah.
He's pushed back and shot down everything from having a select UAP committee with subpoena powers and a budget. He shot that down. He could have easily put that in place like where Congress was pushing the UAP caucus. Well, he wouldn't have it. Not at all.
Yeah.
So he's in the same ballpark as Mike Turner and Jim Himes and all of the people who are
gotta love Mike
bipartisan.
Turner, my friend. He gets me cooked up to a point where I have to say chill.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
What the hell is even that?
That's right.
Yeah.
This is the problem. People like this in Congress that are in the way. But you know what? Again, even with people like this in Congress, if the president was to sign an executive order to declassify all this information, people like that wouldn't be able to prevent or stop it, would they?
No, they wouldn't, would they, Mike?
No, they wouldn't. So it comes down to what you've been saying for a long time, and now what Dr. Eric Davis said the same thing. He said that we're only going to get disclosure from the president. It has to come from the White House. Oh, it's not going to happen.
Which ties into everything we've been saying, Mike, for the longest time. We've been pointing out the Department of Energy and the executive branch for years on this channel for a main reason, because that's where the cover-up. People say, oh, God, we got to deal with the DOD. It's the DOD and the military contractors that are behind this. I say bullshit. It's the executive branch, and it's the Department of Energy where they're locking a lot of this stuff up under.
Right. No, listen, the DOE has been on top of this since Roswell. And they have been burying it there because anything to do with atomic or nuclear secrets, and they classify this as special nuclear material. You're never going to be able to get that information out publicly. They're never going to release anything. It is buried tight. And a lot of the work that's actually been done on the reverse engineering part of this technology from the UAPs is all done within our national laboratory system, which is run and operated by the Department of Energy. So that's how they've been hiding it. That's why it's still buried. And the only one who could declassify all of that from those departments and agencies is the president. And I hope he does something with this at one point, because he only has not an unlimited amount of time in office. And if he doesn't follow through on it and he's out of office at one point, anybody else from any side of the political aisle that would then be elected are not going to be looking to declassify anything, because they never do. He's the only shot we have. If something is going to move forward in that regard, it's going to come from him. And I wish he had already moved on this like he had promised already. But
well, he was asked that question many times when he was running for office. And that's something he had always promised that he would bring out and declassify for the people.
He did. He also said that he wants to remove the swamp, get rid of the gatekeepers. And that's who we're talking about right now. Anyone that has been keeping this a secret from Congress, the public, the world, these are gatekeepers. And if his mission, while he is in his second term, is to remove those gatekeepers and their secrets, then he better get his ass in gear, because he's the only one that can basically accomplish that at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Whether you like it or not, whether you like him or not, it's kind of like, let's just hope we can all come together and agree that we need him to go ahead and bring out the truth on UFOs.
Right, because it isn't about one side of the aisle or the other. We wouldn't care if it was Joe Biden, if it was George Bush, anybody that wanted to bring this information out publicly, we would want them to do it.
Yeah.
So
I think that notion of that has even hit home with Matt Ford, because over on X, I subscribe to him, or I follow Matt, and he's dropped all the rhetoric against the president at this point, because maybe he's realized that this is our only chance to be able to get disclosure to come forward, because, nothing happened during the Biden administration. We got one question to the president, and what was his answer? Go ask Barack?
Yes, go ask Barack. That was his only answer on this topic, and that's all we ever got from him. So it was disappointing, because like you pointed out when you and I were talking earlier, when he appointed Avril Haines and she got her new position, and she said that she's well aware that there is overclassification in the government, and that she wanted to work to completely declassify a lot of things. That was the first and last time we ever heard that come from her. That was it. No further movement during the Biden administration. Everything got buried deep.
Well, what was it? Even Lewis said that basically it was the unelected bureaucrats who were working the intelligence agencies who refused to go ahead and cooperate with what her demands were. And rather than her going in and cleaning house, she just accepted it. And, she said she was going to start with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, declassifying it there. And that's the agency where David Grush worked.
It was.
And then they're going to go from there throughout all the agencies, and none of it came out of it. Remember, she was in the National Cathedral. Wasn't she there with Avi Loeb?
Yes.
Talking about UFOs?
Yes, she was. You're right. But what do we get from that? Nothing.
Yeah.
What has Avi Loeb brought out with the work that he has allegedly been doing? Nothing.
Absolutely. You know, with all the millions of dollars that he's had donated, what have they accomplished with their effort, Mike? Nothing.
Not a damn thing.
He spent a bunch of money to go hang out on a boat with a bunch of guys to go ahead and drag up some, if you want to call it,
commercial
coal slag from the bottom of the ocean. They built some really fancy, high-end, and apparently useless observatories that they have nothing to report coming out of it. So they've spent a lot of money and they've gotten no results. And this is coming from the same guy that was out there recently saying that, when he was at the round table that happened in D.C., with the really good audio, guys. You couldn't hear anything that was going on. And Avi Loeb, when he was there, said, we need $1 billion in funding.
Well, you know, the good news is, and this is unrelated from the UAP topic, but President Trump is targeting Harvard University and defunding them. So they're desperate for money now, and they're getting cut off from the federal government tit that they've been getting all those funds from for so long. So that's the one good thing that I feel that he's doing, which is one of the reasons why Avi was begging for $1 billion. But he's not getting it.
Yeah.
Neither is Harvard. So maybe that'll put enough pressure on that we might get something at one point. But
all we can do is hope at this point. Let's be honest.
That's it. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. You're correct on that. If the president was to move forward on declassifying this information, we would have some of the answers that we've been looking for. And we know it could happen. And I think that they're focusing in Washington. I know that behind the scenes, what they're doing and what they're up to, you and I are well aware of that. And we talk about it privately all the time. They're working on getting their agenda out of the way. And once they do that, I have a feeling that at one point they will move on to this subject. That's definitely on the list somewhere.
Yeah.
Not up on top like it should be, but we know that much, you and I.
Let's hope for it. Okay, in recent breaking news, Mike, I want to go ahead and bring this out for our audience. Not sure where it's going to go on this particular piece, but coming to us from of Rise Dalton Morgan, who is a UFO investigator and researcher from New South Wales and Sydney, Australia. How about that? Is that close to you, Susan?
Yeah, Sydney's not very far from me at all.
Yeah.
No, that's Ross's home area. He lives in Sydney.
Yeah, he lives just under the Blue Mountains.
Yep, he does.
Yeah. Interesting piece. I'll soon release my in-person interview with Ross Coulthart, where we dive deep about Australia's role in the UFO program, Cabal's Consciousness Skywatcher 2027, and Antarctica. Oh, so it looks like he was able to go ahead and pull an interview in his studio with Ross Coulthart. That should be interesting.
It should be. It's not. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a News Nation special like Ross likes.
No. It sounds like Ross is going to be appearing on a podcast, and it's Australia, so it should be interesting to say the least. It's something to potentially look forward to in a time when there's not a lot of stuff going on, Mike.
No, it's dead quiet out there, unfortunately. But look, if the government is very slow moving on this topic, you and I have also mentioned this publicly, that we could get to the bottom of things by the people who are out there privately doing the actual work, like the scientists that are privately working and trying to get to the bottom of things by doing real research, real work on this subject, and working hard to bring the truth out publicly. Yeah. And you and I are well aware of that because we work with some of those individuals, and we know that eventually the truth will come out one way or the other.
Oh yeah, you're telling me. It's something
I know.
It's something we're going to keep on digging for, something we're going to look for the truth for us to get there. But in the meantime, Mike, I think we've about covered everything for tonight's episode. Is there anything that we haven't brought up?
No, I think we've gone over everything that we were supposed to talk about today.
And then some. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was good. Good conversation.
Oh, yeah. You're telling me, my friend. Absolutely. Jump back into the studio on that note. I want to go ahead and thank our members for our super chats today. We appreciate our super chats. Every dollar that comes in Disclosure tonight goes back into our production fund. I want to go ahead and thank Anonymous Rex for your super chat, my friend. I wonder how much the government uses the UFO community to disseminate counterintelligence. Oh, ask Red Panda Koala, potentially. Oh, and then also Disclosure tonight is the best content out there. Thank you very much, Steve Hines. We love you. We love your support of everything we do here, and we'll do our best to keep the beat of information going your way. And I want to thank, let's see, who talked to us in the back today. There was Ed. Ed, thank you for the questions today. I appreciate your participation in the back.
Glad to be here today, Thomas.
Also, thank you, sir. And also, I want to thank Syrup. Syrup, thanks for your comments today. Maybe busy. On that note, Mike, I appreciate you coming out here and being part of the show.
Oh, my God. It was my pleasure. We really had a good conversation, covered a lot of different topics. I wouldn't have missed that for the world.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing it, Thomas. You did a great job tonight.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Remember, my friends, we love you being here. We'll be back again soon, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure. We got a super chat from Kyle Reinhardt popping in for $20 before I can even say goodnight. As we usually say, thank you very much, Kyle Reinhardt. Eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.